How you doing? This is Larry Anderson with another tale from Sweetwater, Tennessee's history. Today we're at Sweetwater High School. We're meeting with Eric Weaver. Eric is a past teacher, coach, and principal here at Sweetwater High School. Now he works out in the Monroe County School Board office in Madisonville. Eric's done an in-depth study of history of Sweetwater, and he's going to tell us today about our championship teams. That's important to people in Sweetwater. Football is a big deal. Some of us still remember the 35-year run that we beat Madisonville straight. Tell us about our championships, Eric.
Well, I think it was a little longer than 35 years.
Well, it might have been.
But I grew up in Sweetwater. I was fortunate enough to play a little bit here at Sweetwater High School, and Sweetwater football was a way of life. It was just a difference maker regardless. It didn't really matter what athletic event it was just Sweetwater. Being in elementary school in Broad Street, a long time ago, there was always a homecoming parade in the 70s and, late 70s and this type thing. And I think the biggest thing that a kid got to experience then was they got to go sit on the sidewalk. All the teachers took the kids out on the sidewalks, and we sat there and wait for the homecoming parade to come through during the school day. So, you had people like, Kippy Brown, Tommy Ingram, that group, Darrell Latham, all those guys, and Tippy Armstrong, Gary Plemons, that you knew who they were because of their numbers on their jerseys, and they were throwing you candy, and we were more mesmerized by seeing those guys than we were about grabbing the sour balls that they were throwing at us. And, they weren't trying to pepper us with anything, but it was just a big event. It was a big deal. And if you were fortunate enough to be able to go to a game on Friday night, Sweetwater shut down. In the 80s, groups of people would probably not even go to work on Fridays. They'd end up, getting together and kind of tailgating at their houses, and pitching horseshoes was a big thing back then. And come game time, about 6 o'clock, everybody headed towards Sweetwater High School football field to watch the Wildcats play, and it was just a monstrous event. Big memories of running through the snake. Just the whole town would be lined up in the snake to run people through. A lot of great teams in Sweetwater, 71, 72, very fortunate to win. Nobody really talks about it, but 1970 was a runner-up team. Steve Braun was a senior captain on that. And prior to 70, they had no classifications. You're talking about that, Steve Braun, Mickey Plemons, and Keith Shope, playing quarterback. Those guys were running the veer with really no schedule. I mean, you might play South Pittsburgh. I know they played Jefferson County. I know they played teams a lot bigger than them, and they just played. And at the end of the year, 1969, for example, there's a video on YouTube of the 1969 JC's Bowl against Whipple. It's actually in color. It's a really good video that I've sent out to a few people that might want to watch themselves play. Bill Dupes came to Sweetwater in the fall of 1983 from TMI. So a lot of these kids that I had didn't really understand what TMI was. So we explained to that and talked about that, take them down to the museum, let them see some pictures. But at no time did they realize that we had a post-grad football team, So, part of that tradition of Sweetwater is also this field has seen many, many things. You've got Notre Dame, Tennessee, and Georgia actually came out here and played college football games on this field against TMI, and TMI won all three. Notre Dame got off the bus with literally 20 high school All-Americans, and this place was packed. It was during the week, not on a Friday night, but Bill Dukes could motivate anybody, and of course he did. He had the likes of Dale Jones, University of Tennessee, Chris White, both of them are from Bradley County, Anton Davis, and so on had went up there, but he was after Coach Dukes. But anyway, King Braun managed to start the tradition of what all happened at Sweetwater High School, and as far as opening that door. You know, he started out his career that a lot of people don't realize that he taught 1 year at Baltimore. He's a Maryville high school guy, a Maryville college graduate, and vice versa. And he taught and coached 1 year at Baltimore, and then he comes to Sweetwater. So one of my all-time trivia questions, we had one more coach that did that. Do you know who that might be that started their career at Baltimore and came to Sweetwater?
No, I do not.
That'd be Rex Rhodes.
Didn't know Rex was at Villanova.
Rex went to Villanova because there was a position open. He coached there in 82, 83, and 83, 84. He came over here at Sweetwater. So growing up, well, you know, we all played Little League football for the most part. Did the best we could. You know, it was entertaining to say the least because we had a lot of different weight limits. Back then, you had to be pretty small to play football. There was no stripe in your helmets or anything like that. You all had to weigh the same regardless. So it was very competitive, but, you know, Rex Rhodes was our Little League coach. You know, we got to the oldest team, the juniors, and he was our coach. And we did quite a bit of winning. We went to Florida and played a bowl game in Pensacola, and he swears we were playing against Emmett Smith, but I can't say that we were or weren't, but we won. One funny story about that was Terrence Cleveland was our age, and he's one of the greatest athletes that Sweetwater's ever produced. He breaks one, and he goes up the sideline, and he gets to the middle of the field, and he stops and turns around and holds his hands up. You know, I scored a touchdown. Well, it turns out he's on the 5-yard line. The field was so sandy, the lines had disappeared, and he got decleated right there on the 5-yard line. But he didn't fumble, but we still ended up scoring. But so we were all ready to come to high school and play high school football because it was a kind of an intimidating factor, and there was, you know, it meant something to wear the big blue bonnet. You know, my goal was to get on that bus in our first years. I'm not going to be denied. I'm getting on that bus. I'm going to wear this uniform. I'm going, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, it was a great experience. You know, coaching and playing at the same school is a phenomenal thing because there's nothing like hometown. In the fall of '93, there was a big buzz because we had so many players coming back that this was our year. We had a scrimmage with Cleveland out here one day, and Cleveland was the measure of all success. They had 4 straight state championships and a lot of great athletes, and they came up here, you know, wagging their tails that we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, they didn't. These boys didn't back down. They got right back in their grill, and next thing you know, we're kind of in a free-for-all on the field trying to break kids up, pull them apart. TLS AA didn't really get involved, but if they had them, we could have lost our whole season. But anyway, everybody went their separate ways, and you know, both teams won state championships. First round wasn't much of a challenge. Second round went to Westmoreland, and of course, Westmoreland is a place that they love football too, and it's a fist fight every time. It was a double overtime game, very muddy, but it worked itself out. And then you go to Sequatchie County. So a lot of traveling. It was before the new road, so you had to go all the way down through South Pittsburgh, Marion County, and up through the valley to get there. And they were monster size, but it's just, you know, these kids were constantly challenged, and they just kept answering the call. It was never a doubt. We ran a defense, a wide tackle 6. That, you know, you had the likes of Harry Irvin that could play the sweep or play the pass. Either way, he could be on the line, off the line. Chris Francis, and then we had the John Campbell linebackers and Larry R. Woods, and they just played their hearts out, especially the interior guys. Now it'd be kind of hard to run that defense with what they do, but they would still make it work. But you got Jeremy Parker in the back that made so many plays, just, you know. But one thing I have to tell you that I have to say that I've seen through my life as a coach, as a teacher, as a principal, and as a secondary supervisor or just a kid and a lot of people don't see it, they don't think about it, but you got to get a little age on you to start realizing it because most kids can't see past the end of their nose. But I appreciate everything I got when I was a kid to be a part of because it was rare. Because if you were an athlete in Sweetwater and you were part of that team, everybody knew who you were. You know, Minuteman Shop if it was called Minuteman Shop then, used to print shirts that had the team pictures on it, and people wore them all over the place, you know. Being able to eat a John Turpin burger on a Friday, you know, that he would cook them and bring them up here for the players and this type of thing. That's, you know, that's a long gone tradition, but you know, the Lazy Beagles took it over kind of thing. But one thing I'm going to tell you is every generation that came through here, there was a group that you just loved to watch play. And whether it be, you know, the 84, 85, 85, 86, you know, these guys just lifted you to a higher place.
Touch on the basketball championship quickly.
Well, I believe the year that we lost to Powell, we started playing basketball, and next thing you know, it was Sterling's senior year, that we end up in the finals, the championships, that nobody thought they would, because, you know, Davey Upton was a freshman, and he had never really touched a basketball till he met Greg Allen in junior high. He just picked it up and was such a natural athlete, he could do anything. So these guys had a special talent that couldn't be stopped either, because they didn't look overly large for basketball players as far as size, as far as all this. And, you know, Aaron Green is as competitive as you can get. Jamie Upton's competitive as you can get, but they had such role players like Tyler Weiss that could shoot the lights out of it, and Heath Hawkins, who, you know, went to state championship by blocking a field goal attempt that they wouldn't try to kick another one because he was out there, and he was a defensive specialist. And they played together. They'd done everything together their whole lives, and they just made it work. Well, the next year they came back, and there was a big buzz. They'd won their state championship. So for the first time in the history of the state of Tennessee, as far as TWSAA goes, we had a football champion and a basketball champion in the same year. Alcoa has since done it. But it had never been done prior to. So 93, 94 was a great year at Sweetwater. But, you know, Danny Green coached hard, and Greg Allen pushed them defensively, and they answered the call. It didn't matter what sport it was. Baseball was the same way. It was just, but I'm telling you, that's what I want people to understand, that these guys that are now grown, and some of their kids, you know, Emery Arwood's in this building right now. She's a junior. Tells you how old we're getting, but these guys lifted this town, and me especially, to a higher place. So, you know, small towns need that. You know, you look around, a lot of times I've studied and vice versa. Your school climate is dictated a lot by athletics and what goes on outside and inside the building, because kids are excited, teachers are excited. And at game days, Alcoa comes in here at week 10 of the season. We've got the gates locked literally at 10 o'clock, because media trucks everywhere trying to get in. It's probably the largest gate in the history of Sweetwater High School, and Loudon was probably second, 1985. But that's the Alcoa game right there, you know. But I've cherished these memories, and you know, Coach Dupes' ashes are actually out here on the field, and I dedicated a monument to him and his family and the Braun family, and they came out and spread their ashes. And so there's a tradition, there's a mystique, there's a history. You know, Coach Dupes, a wonderful individual, a wonderful man. You didn't want to let him down in any capacity, and I was fortunate enough to know all the Brauns, be a part of Coach Dupes from start to finish, and that type of thing. And it's just a phenomenal shout out and hats off to Rex Rhodes, who he's gone. Everybody called him Dad, and Mickey Braun. Everybody called him Uncle Mick. I mean, he was everybody's uncle. He did anything for every kid in the world. They're so appreciative, and I wouldn't be where I'm at without that group of people that stayed in my life.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you talking to us, bringing us up on some of the history. Now, Eric's been involved in some other things in the history of Sweetwater. We're going to bring him back to talk about them at a later date. So stay tuned to more tales from History of Sweetwater.